Well, welcome to the Leadership Speakers Series. Thanks for attending today. This event is sponsored by the Sandbulte Center for Ethical Leadership in the School of Business and Technology. The center was created through a gift from Minnesota Power to honor its retiring chairman and CEO, Mr. Sandy Sandbulte, and we're fortunate to have Mr. Sandbulte join us here today. I'd like to welcome our speaker, Kristi Stokes. She is the president of the Greater Downtown Council here in Duluth. In her role with the Greater Downtown Council, she's been involved in a variety of projects, including the medical district expansion, the North Shore Theater renovation, Superior Street reconstruction, and many other projects. She started her career as a TV broadcaster. She's active in our community. She currently serves on the YMCA Board of Trustees and the Board of Directors for the Bentonville Tour of Lights. She was featured as one of Duluth's 10 movers and shakers in the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal and was named to the Duluth News Tribune's inaugural Top 20 Under 40 list of young community leaders. Kristi, welcome, and thanks for speaking to our group.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I do know that some of you might have to leave a little early, baseball players, so great to see you starting the season, or actually you've had a few games, right? A few games, good. Don't worry, we won't go that long anyway. So, it is an honor for me to be here at CSS. First of all, I have to say, one of my first mentors when I got into this position with the Greater Downtown Council was Bruce Stender, who is a former president at CSS. And I also want to recognize Sandy here today. It has been a pleasure working with Sandy over the years and really watching all that he does to give back to our community. So thank you for your leadership and what you do in our community. So for me, it's an honor just to be on campus and sharing a little bit more about my story. I was telling Rick that I am so used to really talking about the downtown and being an advocate for the downtown and sharing all of those stories that I don't really share a lot about myself. So this is taking me a little out of my comfort zone, but it's fun to maybe share a little bit of how I got to where I am today, kind of the path that sometimes you take, that you plan that path and sometimes you don't, and you'll see where it goes from there. And I realized that as I was looking through this and looking through my professional career, really trying to figure out what's that common thread that I've seen throughout my professional life. And I realized that it really has been about building relationships, about making those personal connections, and really learning from others. So I will be sharing a bit about that today, and that has really been important, of having some of those soft skills that can transition you through various jobs throughout your life. So I bet you didn't quite expect that to be my first slide. So that is me at 12 years old. This was me looking at giving a little bit more of how I really came to have the work and business ethic that I have today. My parents were entrepreneurs. They owned and operated a dairy farm in central Wisconsin, so I was an entrepreneurial family. And so I really knew what hard work was like because it was instilled in me from a young age. And when my friends were going to the pool in the summer every day, I often had to turn them down because I was at home doing things such as baling hay, milking cows, and maybe getting a little resentment toward my parents because I wasn't able to be at the pool. But what I really learned from that, and I look back on it and I say today, is this was something that was a great learning experience for me, and it really taught me a great work ethic. I learned how to have a larger allowance when I was at a young age. My parents were giving me, back when I was 10, 12 years old, $150 a month. And that was something that, when I compared that to some of my friends, they couldn't believe I was making that kind of money. But I wasn't just making my bed and doing the dishes. There were a lot of chores that we had to do on a daily basis. And so this was me showing that I loved the outdoors, I loved being around animals, and I really, truly was giving to our family business. So this steer here is Bubba. And Bubba has a lot of meaning because this is also how I helped pay for my college and came out debt-free when I graduated. So my parents started with a business deal to me when I was 12 years old, and they said, you know, we're willing to help you raise these animals, because I have to take a step back. Before this, I was showing rabbits at the fair. So I went from small rabbits to 1,200-pound steers. So they said to me, if you're willing to take the money that you earn from showing this animal at the fair and auctioning it off and put it toward college, you don't have to pay for any of the food to raise this animal, and we'll make a college fund for you. So I said, done deal. And so when I showed them and showed this one for the first time and auctioned them off, I got the check in the mail. I said, okay, I think this is a good business deal. And so I managed to do that. And over the years, I raised about 12 steers and showed them at the fair and auctioned them off at the end. So throughout school, I have to say, some of the things that I really enjoyed doing was I loved to write. I loved English. I loved poetry and short stories, and that really developed into me working for the school newspaper and being the editor of the school newspaper. This was all while I was juggling things of extracurricular sports and things like that as well. But it led me right into saying, I knew at a younger age in high school that I truly wanted to go into journalism when I was in college. So I majored in journalism. When I got to college, I went to the school newspaper, decided I want to work for the school newspaper and do some things there, but quickly realized that broadcast journalism was a little better fit for me. So I moved into the TV station at the college campus. So from there, I transitioned into a couple of internships within my, I think I started in my sophomore year, and that was a part-time job as well. So I was a weekend reporter and anchor for a radio station, and then I also interned at a TV station as a part-time reporter. So I cannot stress enough how important internships are, getting you into the real world. So I have to see, show of hands, how many of you have had internships? Great. How many of you thought they were beneficial to you? Yes. So it's something that really gives you that real world feel of what it's like to be out into the business world, what it's like to hold down a job and have some of those responsibilities. And as an employer now, it's something that I really look for in candidates that are coming to us. Someone who's had experience, who's really looked at this and taking on opportunities to gain more experience while they are in school. So I have to say, just a little plug, even the GDC, we offer at least 2 internships a year. And so if there's anyone who is in marketing or special events, communications, things like that, we would love to talk to you and give you an opportunity. We really have this internship that is focused on special events, planning special events, and really executing those special events. So it might sound a little cliche, but the other advice that I have is really follow your true passion. And so that is something that I did. You have to be passionate about what you do. Otherwise, it's even harder to get up in the morning and go to work. Obviously, they call it work for a reason, right? But for the most part, you need to like what you do, or it's really hard to see some of that success, to be able to say, I did this because I love doing it. You have to feel energized. You have to take pride in what you do to really feel successful. So I actually interviewed for my radio news reporting job here in Duluth, the first job out of college, several months before my final exams. So for seniors, how many seniors do we have in the crowd? Quite a few. Have you been interviewing, or have you landed a job yet? Good for you. Great. So those are really important things. And this was something truly that one of my professors was really instilling in me. He was someone who didn't just teach you in class. He was someone who was invested in your future. So he was the one who was searching for those jobs, knew of job openings in different markets, and said, I want you to apply for this job. So he was really important in that way. So that's something else I would say. Seek out those instructors and embrace them. These are individuals that can have a lasting impact on your life. With that instructor, I have to tell you, our assignments became real world. So again, another real world experience, but I wasn't an intern. He would have us cover such things as a reporter as county board meetings or city council meetings. And these would be night meetings. And it didn't matter what time the meeting ended. You had to come back to the classroom or to our studio at that time, and you had to write up your stories for the next morning's news. So you had to act like it was real world and it would be ready for morning news. It didn't matter if you had a test in another class the next morning or if you had other assignments. It was truly something that he was trying to instill. This is what it's like. This is what it's like to be in the real world. So I look at it and say, thanks to that training and that persistence, I was able to land a job on my first job interview. And so I came to Duluth. And some might say, Duluth. This is what they said to me. They said, Duluth. Isn't it really cold up there? Now, I only came from central Wisconsin. How many of you are from Duluth, by the way? Okay, a few of you. I love Duluth, and I love downtown Duluth, but I didn't really know much about the community when I moved here. So I said, I think it looks great. I'm coming in the summer. It's something that I'm going to enjoy, and we'll see what happens from there. And so my first day on my job was a 12-hour day. And, you know, maybe today I might say a 12-hour day really stinks, but this was amazing. So we had, there was a major economic development project that was announced that time. We had state officials and regional officials and local officials all got together for a signing ceremony for this development project. And we were down by City Hall at the Civic Center, and we were broadcasting live from there. And there was just so many things that were so exciting about that day. It was intense. It was putting me on the spot to be able to do some live reporting when I hadn't had a chance to do much of that. And so I walked away and just felt like, this is it. This is what I want to do. During my first week then on the job, I was called into our general manager's office. And I thought, I'm getting called into the GM's office already. And at that point, he offered me a $500 a year raise. And I was on cloud nine. So $500 for the entire year over the course of the year, but it was a raise nonetheless within my first week. So for me, that was something that felt like a true sign of success and really felt like I knew what I was doing and I was following my passion. But when you land a job, how do you continue to stand out in your role? Anybody? If you land your job and you're working at a job, how do you think you stand out? I'm going to wait until someone answers. How do you think you stand out?
Just work ethic and showing up on time and just attitude.
Great. How about someone else? Yeah.
How you work with others.
Super. Yep. Those are things too. One more. How do you stand out? You don't know? Okay, how about you?
Becoming good at things that the other employees usually shy away from.
Taking on more responsibility and things like that. That's good. For me, too, when I was in broadcasting, it was really taking on stories that meant a lot to the community. Maybe ones that other people didn't want to take on, but were important to our community as a whole. But there was one that I also got thrown into that mattered to everyone in the community, and that was the Magna Storm. So obviously this was probably before many of your time, but it was in 1991, and it was my first winter here in Duluth. So imagine me saying, first of all, people were saying, Duluth, you're moving to Duluth, it's so cold there, it snows. And I said, no problem, I'm there in the summer. And then my first winter, the first snowstorm we get, it's 36 inches of snow. And so we started out that morning as a reporter, you're doing newscasts and you're talking about the weather. And so I would be updating the weather, and I started out saying 3 to 6 inches of snow, and then the next hour it was 6 to 9 inches of snow, and then the next hour it was 9 to 12 inches, and it just kept growing throughout the day because of the lake effect that we were seeing. And so in the end, it was 36 inches of snow on Halloween. And what it also meant was it was something that kind of collapsed our community for a while. You can see, obviously, with some of those pictures, people were stranded. I lived in Superior at the time, and the bridge was closed between Duluth and Superior, so I couldn't even get home from my job if I wanted to. The radio station had put me up in a hotel at that time, along with some of my other colleagues. There were people that were skiing down Superior Street, just down the main drag, and so we'd run out there with our microphone and we interview them and things like that. And so it was something that truly landed me into the national news because it was such a huge event for our community. And for me, that felt like a true success story as well, because at the top of the hour, I was introduced for national news and was able to do some reporting. So it wasn't exactly something that we had planned, but it was something, again, that really got my adrenaline pumping and made me feel like this is my passion. This is where I really want to be. I do have to tell one story about this, though. So we have the alley behind our radio station was how we would get out of our parking lot. And I was with another individual who happens to be my husband now at the time. Now, but not at the time. And we were driving out and we got stuck in the alley. And it was so deep there, we couldn't get out. And he saw a tow truck, so he ran down the avenue to catch a tow truck. Well, in the meantime, there was a team of hockey players that were staying at a nearby hotel walking through the alley. And I said, "Can you help us a little bit?" And they actually helped lift up the vehicle, and we got it out onto the avenue before the tow truck even arrived. So it was kind of fun. So many stories that you can share about something like that. So it is really something when you think about what you love to do, what gets your adrenaline pumping, that is your passion. I was also someone who was looking at going into law school. My mom had wanted me to go into that. She thought that might be a little bit more lucrative, and she also said that I was really good at final arguments. But I decided to follow my passion, and I was able to really stay in the court system quite a bit. Not on the wrong side of the law, but on the right side, I was doing a lot of reporting. So it was court reporting, and it was doing things such as following a lot of murder cases. And so for me, when you think about reporters and people in the news business, it's important to remain fair, objective. And what I was really finding was when I was covering some of these murder cases and trials, I really felt the pain for those families that were experiencing what they were experiencing. I saw the grief. I could relate to them. And it was at that point where I really said, you know, maybe it is time for me to look at something different. So this was me in, must have been 2000 when I made a switch. And this was, again, thinking about, it was thanks to a relationship that I built that I was able to change into a different career. This was because I received a call from someone who said, you know, I really think you should look at this opening at this position, and that was with the Greater Downtown Council. So who wouldn't love promoting downtown Duluth? I mean, look at that. There's Bentleyville. You gotta love downtown Duluth. There is so much going on, and so for me, this was a step to say, there's so many positive things, and there's such a great energy that we can create with our downtown. And so I really had that and really loved it and really took that on. The Greater Downtown Council, where I work, is really focused on promotion and development in the downtown and advocating for our members. So I think one of the questions I actually received before this was just talking about how do you advocate for someone? How do you advocate for a member, and who are your members? And so we have about 350 business members in our downtown community, and these are large corporations such as Minnesota Power to small mom and pop shops, just a small retailer. And while their size may really vary, many of their needs are the same. They want things such as a clean and safe environment to allow for employee retention. They want to see a great business environment, events that help attract people into the downtown. They want to see a healthy heart of our community. And so that's really something that we work on, and we work with them on that. Within my first few weeks on the job, I remember someone coming in. It was a property owner, and he came into me and he said, if I can just have you do one thing with this job, can you just make sure to give some attention to the old downtown? And so the old downtown at that time, hopefully, well, I know it's not my phone. So the old downtown at that time, it was called the old downtown, and right now it's called the Historic Arts and Theater District. So at that time, we were dealing with, do I start dancing to this music too? We were dealing with a lot of neglected buildings. There just wasn't much investment in that part. So that's the area that's east of Lake Avenue, Pizza Luce, all of those areas right now. And it was important feedback to me on how to really do my job. I'm just going to let them keep working and I'll keep talking, right? This is the first time we're doing video, too, so people get to see me do this. And so when we ended up talking about this, we took some small steps ourselves to really focus in on this area. Minor things, like taking things and saying, we're going to do more events in this area, just to pour the spotlight on the area. But we also saw a lot of property owners that were putting some investments into the area as well. The medical district, obviously, at that time they were doing some expansions, and now we're up for quite a few additional expansions coming forward with the medical district. It got so much attention over time and so many different investors that at this point we really took a transition. We changed the name for the district. We see that it is now considered a destination where many businesses want to locate. There's nothing up there that
this is a test.
Right?
There's a test.
This is a test?
Yeah.
Not of the emergency broadcast system, though. It's just a test to see. This is how we make sure they're all awake and paying attention.
Yep.
What's that? Oh, see, they know what's going on. What?
Sorry about that.
No worries. This is how you also learn to improvise when you're speaking. See, you have to be able to handle that. So I talked about the transition of the old downtown to the Historic Arts and Theater District. One of these things was just because it was something that a property owner came forward and told me, this is what I think is important to your job. It was good feedback. It was something that we needed to do. We needed to focus on an area like this. And this is an area where a lot of businesses, and I'm sure a lot of you, like to go because of all that's been happening. That's where the entertainment is. That's where the nightlife is. Many years ago, too, we also took a bold move, and we created something that was called the Special Service District. I won't get into the boring details on it, but the gist of it is we went to property owners in our downtown and said, how about voluntarily taxing yourselves, some of you up to $10,000, to help pay for enhanced services and programs in the downtown? How do you think that went? How do you think that was received? Yeah. Well, right. It's a hard ask to ask of property owners who are already paying property taxes and doing so much in our downtown. But what we knew was the private sector needed to start to take a leadership role, more of a leadership role than they had been doing in the past. And we had learned this from an economic summit that the mayor had done at the time. We knew that cities were no longer able to be the source of just being able to provide money to fix everything and to take care of all types of programs. And so we realized that if our property owners pooled all their dollars, if some of them gave a little bit and some of them gave a little bit more, they could create a larger pot of money. And so we created this in 2005. I will say that my predecessor tried to create this, and about a day after he suggested the idea, some of the same property owners I worked with had hired an attorney to fight the idea. So times had changed. A few years had passed. People were in a different place, and they really knew how important something like this was going to be. And so what I like to share with you is how important it is on building those relationships, but also bringing people to the table. When we talked about creating this, I reached out and I was putting together a committee of property owners. And I had a property owner that I called, and he said to me, First of all, I don't think I agree with this idea. And second of all, I sure don't think I want to pay for it. And so I said to him, I said, and that's exactly why I want you on our committee, because I want you to help us craft something that you can support financially and that you feel that you could support just as a program itself. And so that was something that really helped us all create what we call our special service district right now. So what is it? It's additional programs and things that we offer in the downtown, including our clean and safe team. So they're in brightly colored uniforms. They walk the streets and the Skywalk, patrol them on a daily basis. They pick up litter and graffiti. You'll see we have segways. They water our plants. They do street sweeping. They do so many things. They are truly an extra set of eyes and ears for the police department, and they are our ambassadors in the downtown. Some people had said to me, wow, this is a great idea. We're so glad you took this leadership. But it was me saying, you know what, there are about 900 of these across the country, and I'm just learning from other cities of how to do the best thing for our city. So it's something that's been real beneficial for us. The flowers in the downtown, you might just think, oh, this is something that the city does. And truly, it's something that we do. Our property owners pay an additional fee for things like this. We do 143 hanging baskets in the downtown. We do streetscape planters. And the whole idea is to beautify our city. So it's not just concrete and brick that you see throughout our downtown area. The other thing we really like to do is focus on events. Movies in the park at Leif Erikson Park is something that we provide to the community, a free event, of free movies at Leif Erikson Park. We've got our whole season locked in for this year, so make sure to get on out if you want. We help things such as the Christmas City of the North Parade, farmers markets, and sidewalk days. Again, these are things as leaders in our community, you really look at how can you help your community? How can you give back to your community and shed the spotlight on the community? And that's what we have done. And finally, Eat Downtown. How many of you, have you heard of Eat Downtown, Restaurant Week? Yes, there's some that have, so good. This is probably about our 11th year that we've done that. And it truly is, it's our restaurants coming together and working on this fixed price menu and multiple courses. So it's something that's really great. So I have to say that some have really referred to our downtown as the living room of our community. And for us, we needed to clean that up before we could really invite any types of customers or any types of friends into our living room. So since the district was created in 2005, we have seen more than $950 million invested into our downtown, and we are going to see about another $1 billion invested with the medical district expansion coming and with the addition of a new apartment building. So you'll see things such as the Maurice's, Corporate Tower, Pier B Resort, the North Shore Theater, St. Luke's, Essentia, all of those expansions. Those things don't just happen. Those are about really taking a vision for our community and seeing what our community needs, having the right people at the table, and really talking about important things to our community. Just a few things to see for if you ever wanted to see some facts about our downtown. We have about 18,000 employees, more than 50 restaurants, 13 hotels, miles of skywalk system, and we are a destination for visitors to Duluth and to our downtown area. But we've also had challenges, and so this is when you think about a challenge in your job. How do you take on those challenges that come to you? This is the Cozy Bar on First Street. It's just a block away from my office. And this is Blight in our downtown. As a leader, it was something that I couldn't ignore, but I also didn't own the property. I didn't think there was much that we could do. But as we started to talk about it, we knew that we could look at partnerships and those relationships to make a difference. And so we took this building, at least I made it look like that. It's a Band-Aid, right? It looks better than it did before. But we worked with the police department, we worked with the St. Louis County, and we worked with the local painters union, and we painted it. We got rid of the graffiti. And it was something that, to this day, that was several years ago, and we still haven't seen graffiti. Now, it is slated for demolition, but it's held up in a court challenge right now. But that is something when you see a challenge in your workplace or just in the community in general, this is how you look at those partnerships and those relationships that you build and how you can work together to make things a little bit better. We also saw a challenge with retail in our downtown. Actually, you're seeing it nationally. Stores closing, bankruptcies, and things like that. It is a challenge for the retail industry. But we had to think, okay, how can we be creative and how can you look at other ideas and learn from others? In my industry, you lean on others in the industry and you truly learn from what they've done in other communities. We did something that was called Pop-Up Downtown, and it was something where we took vacant storefronts, partnered with property owners who had vacant storefronts and said, hey, how about you give them away for free for a couple of months and let's see if an entrepreneur can go into this, set up shop, and let's see if it works for them to become an actual tenant in the downtown. It worked. It didn't work on all cases. It was also a good learning experience for some entrepreneurs because they were able to say, all right, I gave this a test run. I did a test drive in the downtown market. I learned a lot of things, but I'm not ready for this yet. And for others, they said, I am ready to take on a full-time lease and be a business in the downtown. So several of these have gone on and are current tenants in our downtown right now. And there are those that may not agree with you all the time. Sometimes I feel like this is the crowd that I face once in a while. And I think what I have to say to you is just stay true to your convictions. Never allow it to become personal. There are many criticisms that I receive in our community about things, or people think that we should be doing something differently. But it's something that I decide that I can't take it personally. And in this day and age, people are so angry and sometimes polar opposite from each other. And I think truly what people want is they want to be heard and they want to be understood. And so in my job, that's one of the biggest things, is if someone calls me to complain about something and share their criticism, even though I might want to tell them something else, I think it's really important to say, I hear you, I understand you, these are important things, I get this, and now I want to share our side of the story. And so that's important for both sides, to really hear from one another. One of the things that we hear a lot about is just parking criticism, parking or having to pay for parking in the downtown. And one of the things that I've said is, thank goodness we do have people talking about parking issues, because then that means there are still people in our downtown. We have a critical mass of people that come into our downtown, and obviously we have to find a lot of different parking for them. Finally, I'm just going to talk real briefly about another project that we're doing and how it helps develop you as a leader or as someone in the workforce. And so it's Superior Street Reconstruction. Have you all been downtown? Have you seen Superior Street Reconstruction? Last year we started the first phase. This year, next week, Monday, we start season 2. And this is something that we consider as transformational for our downtown. It's looking at all of our infrastructure and doing repair and replacement of the infrastructure, digging deep, taking care of our streetscape, really transforming the look of our downtown and giving it a facelift. So this is something that can help our businesses and the community as a whole. Our project engineer on this, he said, last year I was the big project in downtown Duluth. He says, now I'm just a small project because of so many other investments that we have going on in our downtown. But what can you, as a student or just a common citizen, do to support the downtown during something like this? It's as easy as supporting those local businesses. And if you can't support them, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, be an advocate for those businesses, because truly this is a time when we want to make sure people are supporting locally and really investing in our local area. So whether that means just even suggesting, hey, let's take our study break and go to Duluth Coffee for coffee, or let's grab some pizza at Pizza Luce, or go down to Electric Fetus, things like that. Those are easy ways for you to be able to say, you know what, I played a role. I gave back to our community and I helped support them. This is our Superior Street. This is the first phase that was completed. We still have trees that we're putting in, and we'll be planting more flowers as well. So that's some exciting stuff for us. I will leave you with this. You know, when we have talked about some of our relationships over the years, I have to say that working with the employees at the City of Duluth, you know, we're a separate nonprofit organization, but an advocate for the businesses. But we work very closely with the city. And again, I go back to building those relationships and how important they are. Showing that gratitude is also important. I'll give an example. I had, this is pothole season, right? Construction season and pothole season. And there's probably, the employees in the city probably receive, I don't know how many calls about potholes. But I did have to share one with them about the downtown, and I passed it along to them via email. And they responded, obviously, you know, we'll try to get to it. And then later in the week, I actually saw some crews downtown repairing it. So I could have been like, oh, good, check that one off the list. But it was important to respond to them again and say, hey, I saw the crews out. Thank you so much for taking care of this and addressing this problem. Show gratitude. That's one of the important things. You know, when you're building relationships and working on those connections, show that gratitude. How easy is that? It's something that goes a long way. So does optimism and resourcefulness. So I'll leave you with this. This is a picture of a couple of our buildings in downtown Duluth, and one of our proud property and business owners is in the middle, and he was so proud of the downtown, he put up a banner that says, "Downtown Duluth rocks." But a neighbor came in at another business nearby, and he was getting a little competitive and put up a sign that said, "Best deals," thinking he could get more people into his business. And then another neighbor came up and put in a sign that said "Lowest prices," thinking I could even get more customers in my door because I've got a better sign. So our smart business owner in the middle, as a true advocate for the downtown, just put the sign up that said "Main Entrance." And so one thing is certain about our community, that the downtown will always be the heart of our community. And I truly look at it as the main entrance to our community. It's a reflection on the health of Duluth, and my team really works daily to see that we are investing in it, making it a great place to be, and a great place for all of you to come visit and experience. Years ago, would I ever have imagined myself in this job? No. I never thought that. I truly thought I was going to stay in journalism. I was going to go on to other markets. But I fell in love with this community and really wanted to find something that I could still use my passion and work toward. I also found out that I was preparing myself all along for this job and didn't realize it. Through learning how to approach people, total strangers, and communicate with them on a daily basis when I was in the news media, building relationships throughout the city, and really following something that I loved, something that was a passion. And so while you have to have knowledge for your career as you move on to a career path, just always know how important those soft skills will be as you transition into a job. Thank you. So, questions? Is that what we take?
We got time for a couple of questions.
Yes.
You speak of maintaining relationships. So, say in a circumstance where a small business that's has some history in the city is maybe struggling financially, and you're talking about them paying for like the flowers and stuff like that. wish to maintain a relationship with discount prices for them paying a tax in order for them to stay, or are you more cutthroat with finances?
Well, I wouldn't say that we're cutthroat with finances, so I'll say that it's the property owners that are paying for a lot of the services that we provide, so it's not necessarily always the business owner, it's the one who owns the property. But it's a good point. So I'll take a look at, for instance, our members pay membership dues, and what we said was Superior Street reconstruction is going to be hard on everyone, and so we said, we're not raising our dues over the next 3 years. We're going to help you through this. We want you to continue to be a member of our organization, but we also see this is a difficult time financially. So we take measures like that to help them out. The other thing that we've always done is we try to see who else we can team up with to provide additional business counseling for individuals. Good question. Thank you. Anyone else? Quiet group? Yes.
What's been like your favorite project so far?
Wow. I'm going to go with probably, I'm going to go with a challenging one because it shows the great outcome. How many of you remember the last place on earth in downtown Duluth? Anybody? Yes. So that was another issue of extreme blight in our downtown, an extreme challenge for us with synthetic drugs in the downtown. And so for me, it was a hard, probably 2 years of how to help businesses surrounding that area when there were individuals lined up outside their door getting drugs. And we came through united as a community and really worked together, whether it was testifying at the state legislature, working with the police department, working with the city attorney's office, all of those things to really try to take back our neighborhood. So I guess at this point I'd probably say that was one that I saw as such a huge challenge for us that it became one that I really saw as a success and made me feel like it was a good thing for our community. Yes.
Is the Greater Downtown Council's focus mainly just on the downtown area, or are there projects that expand out to Gary, Duluth,
Sure.
or West End, or even Leicester Park?
Our focus is specifically on the downtown and Canal Park area. So we go from 10th Avenue East, which is out by St. Luke's, to Masaba, and then up to 2nd Street and all throughout Canal Park. So we really do that. And I think one of the things that we do say is when you see a healthier downtown, you see healthier other neighborhoods as well. I know I saw one over here somewhere. Any more? Okay.
What gives you motivation? So you talk like very highly about how this field of just interest is passionate and related, resonated with you. So what fuels your passion?
I think it's the people. Seeing how we can make a difference together all of the time. Every day is different as well. It's not a repetitive cycle for me whatsoever. And so I think that makes it exciting. It's something new every time, and just really working with so many people and seeing how you can make a difference in a community. Thank you. Good question.
Well, thank you, Christy.
All right. Thank you.